A special place for sick kids and their families. On top of that crime, a hit-and-run driver left more damage and unexpected costs for the Ronald McDonald house. Mike McKnight has more as 6 on Your Side investigates.
I found a zebra.
A scavenger hunt designed to find moments away from the worry of a loved one at nearby Nebraska Medicine.
There's one animal that's located all around the perimeter of the Ronald McDonald house.
A monkey.
But the excitement of checking off animals on the list changes to dismay when the kids find 3 statues are missing.
It should be there.
A tiger statue has been stolen and a miniature baby elephant with its mother grabbed from its base. This is the last stop on the scavenger hunt for kids staying at the Ronald McDonald house. And as you can see, criminal scavengers have been here and ripped off the statue of a rhino.
It's sad that people take things a lot.
The rhino, elephants, and tiger statues aren't made of precious metals, so they're likely stolen as souvenirs.
It's like almost basically stealing from kids. If they have a conscience, then hopefully if they see this, they'd be like, you know what, I'll just leave it on the doorstep one night or whatever.
It's not just emotional, but physical comfort that's provided for families staying at the Ronald McDonald house. And a hit-and-run driver made that more difficult by crushing an air conditioning unit.
This is a house for critically ill children. So when one of these goes out, there's 40 families that we have here.
The cost of replacing the unit is estimated at about $3,000.
We don't require that you pay anything to stay here, so we're really just relying on the entire community in the state of Nebraska to help support us. So that's why it's really sad that we have these unfortunate instances that are happening.
A new air conditioner and more security cameras will be unexpected costs at the Ronald McDonald house, where April Albright is staying while her daughter receives follow-up treatment.
And I don't think people need to vandalize anything, but the last place that needs to be vandalized is a place that is a home for kids who are sick.
The theft and damage outside the Ronald McDonald house has become too costly. On Your Side near 38th Avenue and Jones, Mike McKnight, 6 News.
Last year, the Ronald McDonald House became a home away from home for more than 1,200 people, the highest in the history of the Omaha charity. Some are patients who come into town for treatment, while others are families with loved ones in the hospital. The average stay is 30 days.